Hey gang, this is Paul with Stud Pack. Welcome back to our channel. Jordan and I are back here at our main remodel project, continuing with our A to Z shower build. If you missed the previous 3 videos on this shower, make sure you go back and check them out, and we show you how exactly to get to this point. What is this point? We are ready to put tile on the walls. We know there's a billion videos on YouTube about tiling shower walls, but we promise you, you're gonna learn something on this one. Let's jump right in. We're all excited about putting tile on the wall, but before we set that first tile, we need to pump the brakes a little bit and talk about something that's very important on a tile wall. And what is that? I'm talking about the layout. The layout of the tile is a bit of a dance, right? It's a compromise, but I want to break it down into 2 goals. First one I want to minimize slivers. I actually want 0 slivers. To me, slivers are bad. Number 2, I want to minimize the number of cuts I'm making in my tile and maximize the use of my tile. So with those 2 goals in mind, let's finally talk about the tile layout. And we're gonna make it super simple. We're gonna break it down into 2 dimensions. Let's talk about the horizontal dimension and the vertical dimension, and we're gonna combine those 2 for the optimal tile layout. All right, gang, vertical layout. I got my tape measure on our floor, and let me extend it all the way up to our ceiling. We actually have this soffit here, so it's a little lower, and I'm actually at 7.5 inches. So I immediately know I have a problem. My wall tiles are 12 inches tall. Well, they're not really 12 inches tall. That's what the box says. They're really like 11 3/4. And by the time I add an 1/8 inch grout line, I'm gonna be short up here and I'm gonna have a sliver. Remember we said at the beginning, we don't want slivers. Slivers are bad, especially if your sliver ends up here and your ceiling's not flat. And now you're cutting tapered slivers. So if you want to keep all these, we're going to show you how to fix the problem. So what are we going to do? We're simply going to lower our layout. Remember, when I held the tape measure up there, I was assuming that we'd have a full tile at the bottom and we'd build off of that all the way to the top to about right there. And that's about where our sliver would be. And we don't want that. So all we have to do is to start to lower our layout on the full tiles. Now as we lower these, we can't have a full tile at the bottom anymore, so we're gonna cut that tile also. But that's my compromise on this shower. I'd rather have a half tile at the bottom and a half tile at the top rather than a full tile at the bottom and a sliver at the top. So I can visualize that in my head. If you're having trouble visualizing your shower layout, just lay it out on the floor like we did in the bedroom. Let's go check it out. All right, on the floor right here, we have 7 tile laid out with an approximate 1/8 inch grout line. Doesn't have to be perfect for this. And this 2x4 is cut to 7.1/2 inches, the height of that wall. And you can see right here, there's our sliver. It's right there, and you can see how bad that would look. All we have to do is to change our layout. So I'm just gonna move this board to my right, your left, about 6 inches, and now that is the height of our top tile. Much better than the sliver. Let's head down here to the floor side and see what it looks like. Now you can see that if this is the bottom of the wall, there's the height of my bottom floor tile, about half a tile, and that's gonna look great. So if you don't have a niche on your wall, you are ready to go. We actually have a niche. We wanna incorporate that into our design and make it look stunning. Let's head back into the shower and we're gonna show you our next step. When you're accounting for a niche in your vertical layout, it looks absolutely killer, gang, when your horizontal grout line right here lines up with the bottom of the niche. In other words, if I put this up here, now I've got a big notch to cut out of that tile. That looks a little bit like an afterthought, so we're gonna go to the trouble and make it line up at the bottom. And here's the beauty of it. Let me grab the tape measure. Now remember, each tile's about 1 foot, and I'm at the 3-foot mark. So if you head down to the floor, Jordan, you can see the bottom of the tape measure is about where the bottom of my full course is gonna be. Right here, I'm gonna have that piece of tile that we talked about in the bedroom, and it's gonna look fine. So now that we have 100% confidence in our vertical layout, let's talk about the horizontal layout. All right, your first instinct may be to come in here and measure the width of your back wall. We're gonna be at about 40 because the tile is gonna go over the curtain and onto the drywall. And our glass is gonna be about at 36. So it's gonna work fine. So you're gonna measure 40, you're gonna mark the middle, then you're gonna cut this tile and this tile. You're gonna cut this tile and this tile. But check this out instead. What if I grabbed a full tile, put it all the way over on my left, and I cut this one. For my next course, I'm gonna take a full tile, bring it over here, and cut this one. On my third course, boom, boom. You get the point. Only 1 cut per row, and I'm maximizing the use of my tile. And the other thing it does, it automatically centers my 30% offset right in the middle of the wall and right in the middle of the niche.
Look at you.
All right, now obviously every shower is going to be different, right? You're going to have different size showers at your project than ours. You're going to have different size tile, but we sure hope we gave you some tips and tricks on how to do the layout. Now that ours is done and we're confident in it, I say it's time to put up the ledger strips and start setting some tile. Alrighty guys, there are our ledger strips attached to our walls. You can see we used our line laser to get them perfectly level. If you don't have a laser, a bubble level will do just fine. And yes, we did put some screws through our waterproofing membrane, but it's gonna be fine. Would you worry about a hole in your roof that was patched with some new shingles? Not at all. It's gonna be the same thing here. We're gonna remove those screws, patch them with a little piece of Kerdi and some thin set, and it's gonna be good to go. Don't worry about it. And you can see that we're putting our tile right on there, and that's gonna establish this full course as perfectly level. We'll build from there and come back and fill in underneath later when this sets up. Our thin set is done slaking. Let's go outside, give it one more mix, and we can start setting some tile. All right, gang, finally ready to start laying some tile. Let me show you my setup. Got our thin set ready to go. Got some clean water with a sponge for cleanup. Very important, always need that. Right here we have our leveling system. Once you use a leveling system, you'll never set tile without them. And this stuff is cheap and it's gonna change the way you lay tile and it's gonna give you professional results. You gotta use a leveling system, and there are many types. We use the wedge system because it's what we had locally, but there are screw types, all kind of them. Find the one that works best for you. I've got a margin trowel, must have, and I have a 1/2" notch trowel. That's the one I'm gonna use. I've put in hundreds of 12 by 24 tile, so I know that's the one that's gonna give me the proper coverage. Coverage, what am I talking about? It's how well is the thin set adhering the tile to your walls. As an example, I'm gonna go with a 1/4 by 3/8. I'm gonna set a tile with this, we're gonna pull it off, and we're gonna show you the coverage on this trowel versus the coverage on this trowel. All right, we have our thin set on the wall with our 1/4 by 3/8 notch trowel, and I'm gonna set this 12 by 24 into it. Check it out. Moving it back and forth, left and right. Now let's pull it off with the margin trowel. See that? We don't have very good coverage at all. I would say maybe just over 50%. We want 95%. Yes, I could have back buttered this. It would have helped. But just for this demonstration, you can see what little coverage we get between the wall and the back of the tile.
Well, what are you looking for?
I want full coverage. I don't want to see the back of that tile at all. So let's clean this up, clean up the wall, and then set one with the 1/2" notch trowel. All right, gang, we got our big boy 1/2" notches. Let's check our coverage on this one. All right, let's pull this off of here. Oh man, I can tell we got better coverage because it is pretty hard to get off. There we go, start at a corner. All right, now look at that, much better. And when we back butter this tile for the final installation, you won't see any of this on the back of the tile at all. It's gonna be great. And check it out over here. You notice that I trowel in this direction, up and down for this tile. It's directional troweling, that's what it's called. And I'm troweling in the shortest direction of the tile so that the air that gets trapped between these rows of thin set gets pushed out in the shortest dimension. You wouldn't want to go this way with your troweling because then the air has a lot longer way to go. Let's pull this off there one more time. I'm gonna reapply my thin set, back butter this properly. We're ready to go. Alrighty gang, when you're setting tile, there is a difficult, messy way and there's an easier, cleaner way. We're gonna do it the easy, clean way. It takes a little bit longer, but it's so much better in the long run and you're gonna get great results. First step, we've already got our thin set made up. I've got my trowel. I typically grab some with the bottom of the trowel. The bottom of the trowel to me is this part with the opened end of the handle. And I'm gonna start applying it to the wall. Jordan did a great job mixing this up. It's the perfect consistency. See how it's not falling off? But it's thin enough that I'm gonna be able to make it do whatever I want. We've got our thin set on the wall, just like this, and I'm gonna say that is about 1/4 inch thick. If it's not enough, I'll add some more, and if it's too much, it's gonna come off when I notch it. Now you'll notice I'm not using the notch side of the trowel to apply the thin set to the wall. I'm using the flat side, and that is key. What you're doing, you're using the flat side, and you're pressing the thin set into the fleece of this fabric, your waterproofing membrane, to key it in. Then you're gonna come back and notch it. Now I'm gonna take my notch side, I'll start right down here at the bottom, and I'm gonna pull up again with the directional troweling. So that's exactly what I want. Full, complete rows of thin set with no voids. By comparison, check this out. See, I've got that void in there. I need some more thin set right there. Let me do this right here. All right, so I know I need a little more thin set on this right-hand side. Just gonna grab some with my trowel. I'm gonna do this right-hand side over again and get rid of those areas. A little better. There we go. All right, now this next step is key. You're gonna need a margin trowel. It's just a simple trowel like this. Probably what, Jordan, 1.5 inches wide,
yeah.
4 inches long. You can tell that one's been well used. I'm gonna use it on the edge and I'm gonna clean out all this thin set right here. Because if I leave this, it's gonna squeeze out in my grout joint. It's gonna make it a pain to clean out later. It's much easier. Just take this along there and drag it. I don't have too much, whoop, I don't have too much there right here on the left, but as I get here to the right, check that out. Just put it back in my bucket, and I can even go this way so it's on top and I don't spill it as much. I am ready to go. I'm gonna grab my sponge. Remember we said we're gonna stay clean, clean off any thin set on the front there. Look how nice that is. Ready for our next tile. But before we do that, we need to put in our leveling system. This is the clip that goes behind the tile, just like that. And this part breaks off later. That part is going to remain forever. Let's put these in all along here, wherever we have a joint, like right here on both sides of the joint. And one thing you got to know, you can't have this one too close to that one, or this wedge will hit this one. So you want to leave enough room that they don't interfere, but close enough together so you get a nice even corner right here. All our clips are in and we're ready to lay this first tile. First thing I'm gonna do, got it right here, I'm gonna put it in my left hand. I'm right-handed. I'm gonna get some thin set on my trowel, a little bit more. My goal is to get enough to completely back butter this without going back to the bucket. Let's see how well I did. Once I put it in the middle of the tile, my goal is to do this in 4 strokes, 1 to each corner, and completely cover the back of the tile. Let's see if I can do this.
Pressure's on.
All right. 1, missed a little there. That's what I'm looking for. 3, 4, a little there, and a little back here on this one. Not too bad. There we go. I always hook my trowel like that. If you do it that way, you're gonna get thin set all over your handle, but does it look like I ever did it that way, buddy? What do you think?
Yeah.
A couple of times?
That's what happens when you go fast.
All right, now I'm gonna get my sponge. Sometimes I'll use my finger, get off the big stuff. I'm gonna take my sponge. I'm gonna make sure that that edge is clean. Again, it's gonna make it easier when we grout. This one's ready. Just gonna set it right on top of here. Not only is that our leveling system, it is our tile spacing system. Place it on the wall. Back and forth, left and right. And my goal right now is to line up this right-hand edge, because that's our finished edge. All right, we've set this tile. Now, if you go back to when we were talking about all the details, this is one of them that's critical, and it's called lippage. What is lippage? It's the difference between the surface of this tile and the surface of the adjacent tile. And if you have a lot of lippage, not only does it make a grout job difficult to do, but if you have direct lighting overhead, you can start getting some shadows. It looks terrible. Now, I'm gonna use this wedge as like a skid. See, I can go across both of those evenly. This is flush. Now check it out on this side. This one's higher than this one. So the leveling system, we're gonna put it in there, use our pliers, and it's gonna pull the face of both of these tiles into the same plane. Check it out. There we go. All right, now check it out. I'm gonna skate over it. Perfect, no lippage, it's exactly what we want. A leveling system, like we said, whether it's the wedge type or the screw type, find your favorite. It works wonders for your tile installation. So now we're ready for this piece. And typically when Jordan and I are setting tile, I'm the setter and he's the cutter. Let's head over to the snap cutter and see what he's up to.
All right, guys, we're here at the snap cutter. This is something that we use a lot when we're doing straight cuts, just like we're doing here with the 12x24s. Yes, I actually do work when we're working here at the site. And if the footage right now is shaky and there's lack of zoom and focus and that kind of poetic storytelling.
Hey, where are you going with this?
Sorry, okay. So we've got it marked at 16 inches. That's our mark, and the snap cutter is super easy. I'm just gonna take the wheel, and I start actually right here about 1 inch or 2 inside of the tile. I press down gently, not too hard, but I'm gonna score it backwards, right? That way I don't have to try and start at the beginning of the tile. What, you getting this? Yep. And then I can just go. I get to the end and boom, nice clean snap. Awesome. And that's it. All right. And then I just hand it to Dad, but he's usually calling out to me and we're just working real quick. So that's the process. All right, I'm gonna pass it back to you and then you can put it in, all right?
Yeah, let's swap. This camera's freaking me out, dude. All right, here's Jordan's perfect tile he cut for me. I already have it back buttered, but let's head over here to the wall and I wanna show you one more detail. I showed you how to take the margin trowel here, but sometimes you need to do it here also. Depends on where your rows lay out. So you can see I've dragged the margin trowel right here. And I'm also gonna clean up this corner while I'm at it. I don't need that thin set there. It's just gonna squeeze out and cause me grief in the future. I've got my spacers, leveling system on the bottom. I'm gonna put 2 here on the vertical part, and now I'm ready to set that tile. There we go, we have our wedges in. I just have to set them with the pliers and then we can fly and get this shower finished.
Let's do it.
Ready, bud? Me too. There we go, gang. We got that whole wall done all the way from our ledger to the ceiling using the same process we showed you step by step all the way up. Now let's talk about this niche for a little bit. As you can see, we basically framed around the niche. We're gonna come back later and fill it in on the inside. But you gotta remember, these tiles have to extend past the niche. For example, if this were a piece of my side tile, it's gonna go like that. And I've got room here for thin set. Even got my piece of Schluter trim stuck in there. Very important detail. If you make this too short, now these tiles are going to stick out like that, and you don't want that. If you make a mistake, err on the conservative side and have these hanging out too far, because you can always build up behind here with thin set. So the niche is looking great. As you can see, grout lines line up with the bottom and the top. Super cool detail. Let's come over here a little bit to our right and talk about this edge. Now that's a factory edge, but a lot of these are cut edges from our snap cutter that Jordan cut our tile on. And it does a great job. But one thing that we do, we always inspect them. And if you're renting a tile saw, no telling what the previous renter put through that blade, so it may be giving you some microchips on the edge. What we like to do is remove those with a diamond file, flat and a half round. It does a great job of cleaning up that edge. So get you one of those, they're cheap, throw it in your tile toolbox. Now these little spots of hot glue that the factory puts on there to prevent the tiles from scratching each other, just get you a wedge, and they come right off. That's my favorite part. So now we're ready to install the trim on this edge. We're gonna use a piece of Schluter Jolly, that's what they call this profile, nice and clean looking. And we're just gonna slide it right in here. You can see there's plenty of thin set. That's enough to grab a hold of this. If I try to put thin set on these edges and then slide it in, I'm gonna have a huge mess. So what do you say, Jordan? You ready to slide this in?
Yep, nice and easy.
All right, cool. This is my second favorite part. Oh yeah, look at that. Sweet. Yep, there's no way that's coming out. That piece of Jolly trim looks amazing. Got a little gap between the drywall and the back of the trim, but that's fine. We're gonna put some caulk there, bring the wall color up under that caulk. It's gonna look great, and you'll never see it anyway, right? That's where the toilet goes. So now that this wall is done, let's tackle this one. But we have a big valve right in the middle of this first piece of tile. Let's show you how we tackle that. All right, for this tile that goes around our valve, it's super easy. Don't even need a tape measure. We're just gonna flip it over. And And I'm leaving about a 1/16 between this tile and this side wall that we've already done. And you can see I've already made 2 marks with my pica marker right there and right there. It's my cut line. I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna flip it over. Got my spacers in there, right? We gotta count for our grout line. And now I can mark these 2. And we'll connect all that with a speed square, end up with a square right here. We'll take it outside, use our grinder, and cut that out. We're gonna get comments.
I can blur it out.
Let's go see how it fits. Let me just try to clean these up. All right, not my best work, but we wanted to show you what it looks like with a grinder cutting this from the back in case you don't have a wet saw. But give me your comments, I can take it. Let's finish these last 3 tile. All right, we got the last 3 tile in late last night. It is actually the next day, and we are about 20 minutes into this video, and Jordan and I still have a ton of information we want to share with you. So here are some of the things we want to do today. We're going to put this tile in, cut a hole in the middle of it for the shower head, and we're going to use a little bit of a different method. Then we're going to scribe these tiles to the ceiling. We're going to come over here to the niche and put this bottom shelf in, critical detail there. Then we're going to remove our ledger boards, patch the holes where the screws are, and put those 4 pieces in. Let's say we start right here with this tile. I've got it marked outside. Let's head out there, cut another hole in another piece of tile. All right, check it out. Here's our tile. We're going to cut a hole in for our shower arm. Now I marked the front and the back. What I want to show you now is we're going to score it from the front with the same diamond blade and then finish it from the back side. Now this is one of those jobs where a diamond hole saw is really the perfect tool. I don't have a whole set of those. They're pretty expensive, but if you have a good set that you use, let us know in the comments below what it is so that we can read it and everybody else can. So let me get my ear protection on, my goggles, and we're going to cut this square out. All right, these 2 are in. They're just being held in place by our wedges. No thin set yet. And this method of scoring from the front with the diamond blade, cutting in from the back, and punching it out, worked great. Now we did have the forethought last night to put these parts in to our wet thin set because we wouldn't be able to put them in today. So it's very important if you're stopping in the middle of a wall and you want to come back the next day and continue. You got to put these in. So our next step is to put in this piece right here. Let me grab it. And as you can see, we have to notch it right here around this fur down. Now the framing's way off in this old house right here, and we have a pretty dramatic curve here. So we're going to scribe this piece as well. So let's start with this full tile right here, the one that has to be notched. All you got to do, gang, put it up here on your layout. I'm using that piece of trim right there, and we made a mark right here at the soffit, or this drop down, whatever you want to call it. Then I came up here on top, lifted the tile to account for my grout line, and we made another mark right here on the right side. Now you can see by the laser line, if you don't have a laser, just use a level. This is going up pretty dramatically. I'd say about right here, where this joint is going to be, the end of my tile, it's about 3/16 of an inch difference here than it is right here. So let's bring this down on the water bucket, and we're going to show you how we're going to mark this. All right, got a little speed square. Let's make a mark right here. Come over to the right-hand side, and that's my corner. But I don't want to go straight to this one. I want to be a little higher, about 3/16. I'm going to eyeball it. Now I'm going to connect those 2 dots. All right, bud, how's that look?
I like it.
Pretty dramatic cut right there with that bevel, huh?
We've done more dramatic. All
right, let's go out to the saw and get that cut. Nice. That fits great. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All of those pieces are cut and scribed, ready to go. We didn't want to mix up our thin set first, and while it's drying, spend all the time it took us to fit these tiles. So we're going to go outside, mix up the thin set. I'm going to set these 5, and Jordan's going to come down here, remove our ledger strips. We'll patch the holes where the screws were, and he'll start fitting those up. So by the time I'm done here, we can set those 4, put the shelf in our niche, and we're done for the day. All right, we got those 5 pieces set, and we're always checking it with our level to make sure it's straight. Our wall is flat, but we always want to double check with our level, make sure we're not getting out of line here. Our next step is to do this niche. This is very easy. I've already started on it. We put thin set in the bottom, and I've got more on the back than in the front. That's because we want this tile, the bottom shelf, to slope out. We don't want it to be flat, and we definitely don't want it to slope backwards and hold water back there. Here's my little piece of Schluter Jolly. I'll show you the corners. We got the corners already mitered. See that? We're going to slide it right in there. Boom. We got thin set on the back. I'm going to drop it in there. Hopefully it's higher than it needs to be. Perfect. And I can just press it down flush with the top of my trim. Easy. Check that out. Let's put a level on it. I can tell we've got a good slope. How's that looking, Jordan?
Good. You can also reference the Curdy lines.
Oh yeah. All right, that looks fantastic. Now, if you're having a little trouble with this trim, just put some blue tape here to hold everything in place until that thin set sets up. All right, we have just enough thin set in the bucket. We'll do these tiles right here between our floor and the first full course of tile we laid. 4 pieces to go, almost there. All right, all 4 of these bottom tiles are in. Check out this one, around the curb. We had this little sliver there. And if that thing broke, we were kind of up a creek because that was our last tile, right, Jordan?
Right.
Oh man, I can't believe it. I thought we had like 8 left and you told me, nope, we're done. But we did a whole video on just how to do the shower walls. 3 previous videos on how to get to that point. We had so many details we wanted to show you that we put it in 4 videos, and we still have a couple more to go, right, Jordan? We got to tile this whole niche right here. It actually came with a shelf. We hadn't shown you that. You can put that anywhere you want, or you can put a shelf of your own choosing in there. Metal, glass, anything like that. And we also have to tile the curb. Now on the top of the curb, we're not going to tile it. My stone guy is making us a solid surface curb. It's going to look fantastic. Then all we have to do is the face here and the face inside, and this thing is ready for grout. Because my glass guy, he'll be here Wednesday. So we'll probably have at least 1 more video on this shower build. We can't wait to see what it looks like once the grout is done, after we tile the niche in the curb, and we're gonna have that beautiful glass door and a glass wall right here. It's gonna be phenomenal. Jordan and I are having a blast bringing this video series to you. Hopefully you picked up some tips and tricks, so when you build your shower at your house, it comes out fantastic. If you're a pro in the industry, get down in the comments below and give us some of your own tips. And you know what I gotta ask you to do? Get a leveling system, put it behind your like button so it's nice and flush, smash it for Jordan and I, drop us some comments, subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you on our next video.